If you've been living with us anytime recently on planet Earth, you'll notice that it's been hot. So basically, my aim in this video is that I'm going to show you exactly what you should do in summer so that you can make your battery life last longer, and you should also be able to make your interior last longer for your car and keep your car in good shape. Recently, a lot of people bought new Tesla Model Ys specifically because of the deal that Tesla had. So if you're somebody new and you're just looking at something like this for the first time, welcome. And if you're somebody who already had the Tesla for a while, you just need a refresher on what you should do and find out all the new information, then this video is perfect for you. So to make this easy, I basically broke down this video into 3 categories. And if you follow some of them or all of them, hopefully this should keep your car in good shape for years to come and keep you from hitting that heat wave when you first open the door for your car. Alright, so the first category is basically the common stuff. It doesn't just apply to Teslas, it applies to a lot of cars, and at the same time, a lot of people know it, so I'm going to fly through this one very quick. However, the second category is going to be specifically about Teslas and Tesla accessories. All of the ones I'm going to mention apply for the Tesla Model Y, some of them also apply for the Tesla Model 3, and if any of them apply to other Teslas as well, I'm going to make sure that for every accessory I mention, I'm going to show a little icon on the bottom that will tell you what cars it applies to. And the last category is going to be basically general stuff. This is basically a bunch of different tips like software and other stuff that you could do that aren't worth having their own category, so they're all together. So let's get to it. So starting off with the common category. Honestly, I wasn't going to make a common category because most people know that stuff, but last time I didn't mention it in one of my videos, my comments did not stop. So I want to mention them anyway. Number 1, we get a full car cover. It's a good idea, but I did not want to do that myself because I feel like the car covers in general, after a bit of time, you're going to start collecting dust, and every time you put it on and take it off, you're going to leave micro scratches all over the car. So for myself, because I wanted to protect the car's paint, I did not want to go that route. But if you don't really care about that and you want to protect your battery itself and make it last from day to day, as well as battery life in general over the time you're going to own the car, then a car cover is actually a really good idea. Number 2 that people would not stop mentioning last time when I made a video about the snow for the car is put it in the garage. Yeah, you could put it in the garage, but yeah, obviously when I go home, I'm gonna put it in the garage. But what I was trying to get with that video is when you go to work and you park it outside for like 8 hours a day, it's gonna be outside for like 8 hours, maybe longer, just cooking in the sun. And some people don't have garages. And anytime you go anywhere, like grocery shopping or like a doctor's appointment or whatever, your car is gonna be parked outside in the sun. You can't always have a garage, so please stop with the garage comments. Number 3 is if you park your car somewhere safe, like let's say your work has security cameras or a gate, or maybe you're parking it by your home, this would be a pretty good option. On your Tesla app, you can use the vent option to where when you tap it, the windows go down slightly, so that way it's going to vent your car. It's not going to overheat. Good option, but like I said, if you're not in a great neighborhood, I would not suggest this. And if you're wondering why I wouldn't suggest it, it's because older cars used to be to where somebody can put something in and they could pry the door handle open. In these cars, they could do the same with the manual handle, but the worst thing is that with these cars, if you haven't noticed before, these windows are not in a frame. So when you open the door, there's no frame on the top, it's just the window. The frame for the actual glass is the car itself. So when you close the door and the window goes up, it goes inside the car, which makes it strong and it can handle whatever. But if you do that vent mode and you're not in a safe area, it worries me because if you try and put like the lightest force on this glass, you can see the whole thing is just moving and wobbling. So I'd be worried that somebody might just come up and pull it. It's not super weak, but I have a feeling that if you give it a good tug, you might break it. Same goes for the back window as well, and maybe it's even weaker. And lastly, I wanted to mention that if you don't have that vent option in your car, you can always hold on any of the icons and it will open this little menu where you can find the icon that you want. You could use them directly from here, or you can hold, drag and drop. It will replace one of the ones up top, and you can have a total of 5 icons up here. And the last thing in the common category is also Tesla specific, and that would be the cabin overheat protection. So again, if you go to the Tesla app, you'll see there's a climate option. So if you tap on this one, it will look like this, but if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that there is cabin overheat protection right here. By default, it's set to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to set it to 95. I'll show you why in a second. But this basically tells the car that, hey, whenever you hit any of these degrees, whichever one you have it set to, turn on the AC, or in this case, if you pick no AC, this is just going to be the fans so that it would consume less battery, or you could just have it off if you don't want it. I highly recommend that you have it on, and I would also suggest that you set it to 95 degrees, and here's why. So recently I noticed that once we got into the summer and it started getting really hot, my car had been hitting 100 degrees a lot, and it would turn on the AC and bring it down, and so on and so forth. It would do that multiple times a day, starting from around 11 p.m. all the way to around 3 p.m. And I can't really do much about it because usually the car is parked at work at that time, so it's inevitable. But what I noticed was whatever glue or tape that you use on the seat that keep them stuck to the base of the seat was starting to go loose. So this shouldn't happen. Right here for me, the seat had become loose basically. It's not really attached to the bottom of the seat. And I noticed that whenever we have hot days, this happens, and when we have cool days, it gets stuck again as if nothing happened. But the more this happens, the more it's gonna get looser, and the tape or glue or whatever is in there is going to stop going back to becoming sticky. So I would suggest you set it to 95 degrees instead of 100, because ever since I bought the car, I had it set to 100, but now I changed it to 95 so that more stuff like this does not happen to me. And here it is up close if you'd like to see it. this kind of comes off, and if you look close enough, you can see some of the electronics down there. This is not supposed to happen. And lastly, I don't really need to tell you this, but if you're in a parking lot or something and you're looking for a parking spot, if you see one under a tree or something that's more shaded, go there. Because the longer you could keep your car from hitting that 95 or 100 or whatever you set it to, the less often your AC is going to turn on, so that's less wear and tear on your AC, as well as your interior from actually getting up to that degree before it gets cooled back down. I know it's stupid to say, oh, park in the shade. Well, I'm trying to get ahead of the comments. I saw what happened last video. And now, moving on to my favorite part, accessories. Also, full disclosure, some of the accessories I'm going to show were sent to me before and some I bought myself, but I have no bias here. If a product sucks, I'll tell you it sucks no matter who sent it to me or for what. I did not get paid for any of the accessories I'm going to show you, and in fact, if you find better ones or cheaper ones anywhere else, I would say go ahead and buy them. The ones I'm going to show you are the ones that I like myself because of the quality, and usually if a company sends me something and I don't like the quality, I straight up tell them, hey, I'm not making a video on this because I don't like it myself. So with that, let's start with accessory number one. This is a windshield umbrella, I think is what they call it. It's made by a company called Halo BLK, and basically it goes by your windshield and it opens up like so. It also looks pretty cool on the outside. It has a NASA design on it. And if you look down here, here's the design and it says hello from the children of Earth. I really liked how it looks. And the build quality for it is pretty solid and it's pretty easy to pack up and unpack, so I don't get lazy putting it up. So let's take a look at it in action. So this is how it looks when it's packed, and I usually have it in that little space in the door, and it comes in that little pouch that you could put it in, but I don't usually use this because it just takes a while to put it in there. So here's how it goes. I basically take off the Velcro. This is part of it, so you're not going to lose it, so I like that about it too. So what you do is you find this part right here that has another piece of Velcro, because this goes around the mirror right there. And just like an umbrella, you just grab the bottom of it and the piece up top. You take it behind the mirror, you pull that piece so that it would expand, and then with the Velcro undo it. And it's good to mention that that part on the bottom is pretty flexible. It's not going to break on you, so you can just bend it around the screen like so, and then you just tape the Velcro back up, and that's it. Here's how it looks. You could always also support it with the sunshades, or if it's a particularly hot day, I usually move the sunshades to the sides, so that way I'll be covering sun coming from the door windows as well. And it just collapses all the way down, and you take it out, and that's it. Pretty easy. Next up, it's no surprise that in Tesla cars, you have this big glass roof, which is pretty heavily tinted, but it still brings a lot of heat during the summer. And sometimes when the car has been sitting outside for a long time, if you touch the roof, you'll feel it hot and you'll feel that heat radiating inside the car. Now for this product, I like even more because it's more of a long-term solution, not something that you need to take off and on every day or every time you park in the sun. And you could keep it off for the whole summer and just take it off when the weather gets better. This one is also made by the same company, and I did like the quality of it a lot, so I decided to keep it. But basically what this is, it's one for the front half of the car and one for the back half of the car. And what it is that it basically unfolds like this, and it clips onto the ceiling of the car to where this side is reflective. So whenever the sun hits this, it's going to be reflecting back that heat and keeping most of it from getting into the car. So the car is going to take longer before it heats up. So your AC will turn on less. I like this a lot. I used it all last summer and I used it this summer as well. And on the interior, it has the same color as the ceiling, so it will look like it's part of the car. And I like these because they're more of a fixed solution. You get to put them and leave them on for all summer. And you can take them off whenever you want or whenever the weather gets better. They also attach to the ceiling with these little clips. If you want to see how to install this, I made a video about this before. I'm going to link it down below in case you're interested. But let me put this on and I'll show you how it looks like. And there you go. It looks like it's part of the car. So from the outside of the car, if you look down, you won't see anything because it's too heavily tinted outside. But then on the inside of the car, it looks pretty good to me. It's about the same color as the rest of the car, and it keeps that heat from entering the car or burning your head when you're driving. Also, when you first install it, sometimes there's little creases here and there, but once the car sits in the heat for a day, all of that goes away. There's also a NASA logo over there, and one back here as well, if you care about that. And the last accessory, which I'm thinking about getting myself, and this is not specific to Teslas, would be window tint. There's a reason why the Tesla roof is pretty heavily tinted, because that tint actually keeps a lot of the heat outside of the car. The back windows are also a bit tinted, more than the front ones, but you could still get pretty high grade tint installed on your car, and that will keep a lot of the heat out. You know, I thought science class taught us that like dark colors absorb more heat, so I thought tint is supposed to make your car even hotter, but apparently not. When I looked into it, I was very surprised. But it does make sense because the roof does a really good job of keeping the heat out, up to a certain point, because when it gets very hot, there's no way of getting around it. And then for the last category, which I'm calling general, or maybe miscellaneous, or Number one, and this is very Tesla specific, obviously, keep your car up to date for a reason. If you've been reading Tesla updates to see what they added new and all the changes that they made, you'll notice that in update 2024.20, they added a feature right here for hot weather improvements. And if you read what it says right there, it says this release includes various improvements that optimize your vehicle's performance in hot weather. The AC cools down the cabin faster, and your vehicle better regulates your HV battery temperature for enhanced supercharger performance. So an update like that is pretty important, because if your AC is more efficient at bringing the temperature down quicker, like it says, then the AC doesn't need to be on for as long, so less battery consumption, and at the same time, less wear and tear on your AC. So always keep an eye out for new updates. You could always read the notes before you install it. So if you read the notes, there's nothing important to you. You don't have to install it right away. But sometimes there's good stuff like this, and sometimes there's security improvements. So I would suggest that you keep an eye on it. Number 2 is whenever you have a chance, keep your car plugged in. Some workplaces and some hotels have chargers now that are just free outside for use for electric vehicles. If you have the chance, keep it plugged in, even if you don't need to charge. Normally for any battery, they always used to say that no, you're not supposed to keep it on the charge. That's very bad for the battery, which is true. But for Teslas specifically, they were designed to remain plugged in. Obviously in the app, you're going to limit the charge to a maximum of like 80% if you're not traveling. So the car will never go up to 100%, so you don't ruin your battery's life over time. You only increase it to that cap if you're going to be traveling. But keeping it plugged in makes it easier for the car to regulate the battery and keep the temperature in check. And from what Tesla says, it will also help keep your battery's health in good condition, making it last longer over the course of owning the car. And lastly, and this might only apply to people that haven't bought a car yet, and this is up to you as well because it's partly preference. If you have the option and the funds to be able to get the white seats instead of the black seats, I would say go for it, because the white seats always stay cool. You know, back to science class, that actually makes sense to me. The white seats don't get hot because they reflect that sunlight. They don't absorb them like the black seats do. I've been in Tesla Model Ys that were parked right next to each other in the same parking lot. One had black seats, one had white seats, and the difference is huge when you get in the car. Also, the AC tends to turn on more often and stay on for longer when you have black seats, unlike with the white seats. Now, how much of a difference is that going to make over the course of owning the car? Very hard to say, very hard to compare. There's so many other things that impact the battery life of your car, so it'll be very hard to tell. But for me, I like it that when I'm getting into my car, I don't hit that big heat wave at first, or at least not as big of a heat wave. But then again, those colors are preferences, so up to you. It's not something that you must get. It's not a top priority. Besides, the white seats cost too much money in my opinion. And with that, I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Peace. And if you tell me to put it in a garage, I swear to God.